Please be seated. The court is now back in session. I hand over to the prosecution to continue his line of questioning. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just for scheduling purposes, to assist all counsel, I wish to indicate that we anticipate we will end our examination today, and we will hand the floor over, with your leave, to civil parties at some point today, most likely after lunch. And I believe civil parties will take approximately half a day, give or take half an hour, and at that point we'll be in a position to hand over to the defence. And I'm just saying this so that everybody can plan their time. Good morning again, Mr. Sakim Lamut. I'd like to move on to another topic. You'll recall on Thursday, the 31st of May, we looked at a number of documents which recorded the exportation of produce from Democratic Cambodia, or at least they referred to the exportation of produce. And I asked you if you recalled the amounts involved. You said that you couldn't recall off the top of your head, but you said to me that if I am able to show you some documents on that topic, that you may be able to clarify or assist further. Mr. President, I'd like to show the witness a number of documents and see if indeed he can assist. The first document is D366/7.1.487, and I should state now that it is not discussed, as far as we can tell, with the witness in his interviews, but it is a Ministry of Commerce record, and we'd like to show it to him and see if he's able to assist us with it in any way. So with your permission, I'll give the witness a copy.
The President, you may proceed. First, the court officer is instructed to obtain the document from the prosecution and present it to the witness.
Mr. Lamut, if you could take a look at that document and tell us if you have seen it before or if you have seen similar records. For the transcript, this is a report on paddy and rice between the 1st and 7th of March 1977. It's issued by the Ministry of Commerce.
Response. Mr. President, I have never seen this report before.
Have you seen tables similar to it as part of your activities in recording ledgers, as you explained to us last week? Have you seen similar documents?
Response. I have seen other documents, but none was identical to this kind of document. The President Court Officer is now instructed to remove the document from the witness.
Very well, Mr. Lamut. We'll try another document to see if you're able to assist us with it. Your Honours, this is D161/1.32. It is a letter to the Embassy of Yugoslavia, and it deals with a shipment of certain commodities. And with your permission, I'd like to show the witness the Khmer version of that document, D161/1.32.
You may proceed, but the court officer, please take the document from the prosecution and give it to the witness first.
Mr. Lamut, do you recall seeing this document or documents similar to it in your work at the commercial bank?
Response. Mr. President, neither have I seen this document before.
Very well. Mr. President, I would like to try another document and see if the witness is familiar with it. And this would be IS 18.24.
The President, you may proceed, but court officer, please obtain a document from the prosecution and present it to the witness, while at the same time you should remove the document from witness, the preceding document.
Is this a document you're familiar with, Mr. Lamut?
Response. Mr. President, neither have I seen this document before.
Court officer, please take the document back from the witness, that is document IS 18.24. The prosecution, you should select documents as your basis which are certain that the witness has seen such documents for your questioning to this witness, so that you do not waste your time allocated to you. And if you just pick a document at random without thinking of its relevancy to this witness, it's going to be a time waste.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were just what we were doing is seeking to elicit from the witness whether he's seen these, whether he is familiar with them, given that he has testified that he's seen a number of or prepared ledgers relating to export. We'll move on to another topic. Mr. Lamut, are you familiar with an individual called Khoi Toon? Do you know who that is?
Mr. President, I do not know this person.
Very well. Now, if we return to a document that we discussed at the last hearing on the 31st of May, this was one of the documents that were shown to you by the co-investigating judges. And I note that you indicated that you didn't take part in the meetings, but you recognise some of the people that are named in the document. Your Honours, this is a minute of the decisions of the Standing Committee dated 19th to the 21st of April 1976. It bears the number E3/235, and it was shown to the witness in his second interview, and at that point it was assigned the number D279/7.1, and Your Honours will recall that in one section of the document there is a reference to the witness. I'd like to show it to him with your permission.
President, yes, you may do so. First, court officer, could you take the document from the prosecution for the witness to view?
Mr. Lamut, if you recall, this is one of the documents we discussed, and as I said, we note that you didn't take part in this meeting. Do you recall our discussion about this document last week?
Response, yes, I recall that.
Thank you. If we could show the document on the screen, Your Honours, we just wish to project the first page of the document.
President, yes, you may do so. Assistant and the relevant section, could you please assist with the projection of the document on the screen?
If we could have that on the screen. Wonder if there might be a technical issue. We have it ready, but wonder if there's a technical issue with the AV unit. Thank you. We've discussed the Commerce Committee extensively, Mr. Lamut, and I just wish to discuss with you briefly the composition at the top of the of the committee. If we scroll down under number 1, there is a listing of the members of the Commerce Committee. Now, just to read in that section in full for the record, under number 1, preparations to organise various committees surrounding Office 870. And then under number 1, on the left-hand side, we see Comrade Rith, with whom we've become familiar. We also see Comrades Nem and Chuan. Mr. Lamut, do you recall Comrade Chuan? Do you know who he was? Or
Response: No, I do not know this person. Amongst the three, I only know one person, that is Comrade Brett.
if we just move forward in that same document to a section we were looking at last week, and it starts with the Roman numeral 4. If the AV unit could show that on the screen, just want to see if this refreshes your memory in any way. Under Roman numeral 4, and if the AV units could show that, I will take us to the relevant portion. It should be at the bottom of page 5 and top of page 6 in the document you're looking at. We did look at this section last time, Mr. Lamut. Under number 2, regarding the Chinese commercial delegation, there is a decision here to organize a delegation to receive and negotiate, and it includes Comrade Dawn, who you've discussed, Comrade Krin, another individual that you've described as the head of the Ports Committee, Comrade Say, and then Comrade Chuan. And of course, at the end of that list is also your name. Does that refresh your memory? Were you appointed to a delegation with this individual, Comrade Chuan, from the Commerce Committee?
Response: Yes, I recall, but I cannot recall the date. I recall that at that time, Dun was the head of the delegation.
Do you recall what happened to Comrade Chuan after that appointment?
Response: No, I did not know what happened to him.
Very well, I'll just indicate for the record that his S21 confession is IS 5.104. Mr. Lamut, if we come back one step, in that committee, on that first page, we read was Comrade Rith, Comrade Nem, and Comrade Chuan. Do you recall Comrade Nem? Did you work with him? Or did you meet him during the DK period?
Response: Neither Nham nor Chuan. I worked with I only worked with Comrade Red. So I did not have any contact with the other two individuals.
Thank you. And before we leave, Comrade Nem, I'll just indicate that he is listed in the S21 list, which is document D288/6.68.1 at ERN 00330065, entry number 10,781. Mr. Lamut, we saw from the passage that you discussed with the investigators, or rather the passage from your witness interview which related to the removal or disappearance of Vaughan Vet, you said that in that interview that you did not dare ask what happened to him. Were you aware at this time of other disappearances? Were there any other disappearances of people you worked with or people you knew within the Ministry of Commerce?
Response: I cannot recall clearly. Besides, there was one staffer who was an interpreter at the Commerce Ministry. He was removed from his post, but I did not know what happened to him.
And how did you feel at the time? You've now confirmed that you were aware of two disappearances, at least. How did that make you feel?
Response: I was concerned and worried because at the commerce section one individual was removed, so I did have a personal concern for myself.
Do you know who he was removed by?
Response: no, I did not.
Did you ever discuss such disappearances with Van Rith, who you said you were close to at the time?
Response: let me clarify. Van Rith was not the chief at the foreign commerce section, and of course I did not discuss with him about any disappearance.
You said you were personally concerned and worried following the disappearance of one of your colleagues. Were you able to observe how others around you felt? Did you have discussions with any of them about this issue?
Response: no, I did not discuss this issue with anybody.
I'd like to show you a document, Mr. Lamut. See if you're able to assist us with it. This is a decision by the Ministry of Commerce. It's dated the 17th of October 1976. Your Honours, the document number is D108/26.27. And with your permission, I'd like to show the hard copy to the witness first.
President Jeth, you may proceed. Court officer, please deliver the document from the prosecution to the witness for his view.
And just while the witness is reading, for the record, I'll indicate the title of the document is, it's a Ministry of Commerce document. Committee of the Ministry of Commerce, after asking for opinions from the sections in the Ministry, decides to arrest and send the following persons to security to interrogate for information. Mr. Lamut, have you seen this document before? Or documents similar to it?
Response. Mr. President, I have never seen this document or a similar document to this one. President, court officer, could you remove the document from the witness?
I will just show you one more document only on this topic. It is slightly different, and I'm wondering if you might be able to assist us if you recognise the document. Your Honours, this is D366/7.1.159, and it is dated the 17th of October 1976. With your permission, we'll show it to the witness and see if he's familiar with it.
President, yes, you may proceed. Court officer, could you take the document from the prosecution and deliver it to the witness for his view?
As with the last document, I'll just read for the record the opening lines. After consulting with all the sections, Committee of the Ministry of Commerce decides to send the people with the following names to the Re-Education Centre of the Security. Are you familiar with that document, Mr. Lamut?
Response. Mr. President, I have never seen this document or a similar one to this. President, court officer, could you remove that document from the witness? The prosecution that you are again reminded to be clear on the documents to be presented to the witness and be certain that the document the witness has seen or read the documents. Don't just pick and choose a document for him to examine. And secondly, this witness does not work at the Commerce Ministry. He worked at a bank section which is separate from the said section. So please don't waste the time if you run out of questions, you should conclude your question and don't just try to fill in the gaps of the allocated time with repetitive questions or by presenting irrelevant documents to the witness. I hope the prosecution make use of the time available and make the questioning more effective.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to note for the record that we have no way of knowing what documents the witness has seen other than those attached to his interview. He worked at the ministry or at the bank for 3 years at least. Mr. Lamut, you worked with Van Rith, and as we saw, you attended meetings with him with foreign delegations. You have not seen these documents that I just showed to you, but if I ask you a question based on the documents, were you ever aware of decisions by the ministry to send people to security?
Response: no, I was not aware of that. No, I participated in a meeting to send anybody to security. That was the affairs of the Commerce Ministry, and it was unrelated to my section. I did not even know any of those individuals, although we worked adjacent to one another, but it was their business. So I did not interfere with their operations or business. And that is also my personal attitude.
Thank you. We will leave that topic. I think you've told us everything that you are able to recall and willing to share with us. I will move on to another theme. I just wish to ensure that we have a full understanding of the positions you held and roles that you performed in the 76 to 79 period. You confirmed last week that you were Deputy Director of the Commercial Bank of Cambodia. When did you assume that position? Was it immediately upon return to Phnom Penh in 76, or was it at a different point in time?
Response: regarding that bank was not in a similar form of the current bank, because at that time there was no currency. It was called Foreign Commerce Bank. Its main task was in relation to the sales and purchase with foreign countries. And it was not a national bank like the bank we know these days. When I was transferred from the cooperative, there was no establishment of the bank yet until later on, after the decisions by the committees in order to form a bank to deal with the sales and purchase with foreign countries. It was established. And initially, the decision to establish it was only on paper. And I personally was not aware of how much money the bank held. And there was the general director or the chief of the bank, and probably he was by the name of May, as far as I can recall. And then for myself, I was titled as the deputy director, and I never met the general director at all. I did not know how he looked like. And I actually asked a gentleman there what was my job in that bank, because it was only formed in that sense. That is all.
You haven't quite fully answered my question. At what stage, what date approximately or precisely, if you recall, was that appointment made? When were you appointed the Deputy Director?
Response: I cannot recall the date. As I said repeatedly, it's been more than 35 years, so I cannot recall the exact date of the appointment. Either it was in the 1976, early, mid, or later that year. I cannot recall it.
Very well, thank you. And just by way of summarizing your evidence, because you have been testifying now for 2 days, you said to us you attended meetings. I think we saw instances where you attended as an interpreter, and then also today you said you attended meetings also where financial or banking matters were concerned. Am I accurately summarizing your participation in these meetings?
Response: that is correct. However, let me clarify that when I became a member of the delegation, I never made any comments except when it comes to the technical aspect. Then I would make comments. Usually I just sat still and listened to other people speaking. But when it comes into interpretation, that is a separate matter.
Thank you. Do you recall attending any meetings with foreign delegations or otherwise where you were the chairperson? Were there any such meetings?
Response: no, there was no such occasion.
Let's see if we can refresh your memory. Mr. President, I'd like to show the witness document number D366/7.1.341. It's a report of a meeting with a Korean delegation dated the 5th of October 1978. And I have a copy of this information. The President, you may proceed, but officer is instructed to obtain the document from the prosecution and present it to the witness first. Thank you. And while the witness is reviewing the document, for the record again, I'll just indicate the opening lines. At the attention of the beloved Commerce Committee, may we report to you on the meeting with Comrade Korea on 5 October 1978 from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. at the Ministry of Commerce. The next line, and Cambodian side includes Comrades Lamut and Sul. Mr. Lamut, do you recognize this document? Do you recall attending that meeting?
Response. I cannot recall it clearly. And in addition, I have never seen this document either. Looking at the substance, there was the attendance of Wood, Horn, and Suan. And to my recollection, Suan was a small level officer of the Commerce Committee, and Horn was an advisor and also the third secretary of the Commerce Committee. So he was a person of lower rank as well. So by looking at these individuals, I could comment that they were in lower level positions. But I do not yet know the substance of this document unless I am given time to go through this document. But to my recollection, I have never been the chair person of any meeting with foreign delegation. And if there was, such meeting was of a low-profile meeting.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'm in your hands, but consistent with the Chamber's rulings of last week, we submitted would be appropriate to show the document on the screen. It indicates the witness is attending, the witness doesn't deny attending the meeting.
The President, you may proceed.
Thank you. We will just display the first page. Mr. Lamut, we're not interested necessarily in the detailed contents of the discussions. We're just only wanting to understand your relationship with the Ministry of Commerce and your role in these meetings. The first paragraph I will read, quote, before commencing trade talks, we informed Comrade Korea, after exchanging an introductory expression, that as Comrade Van Rith was on a mission outside Phnom Penh, 3 of us had been assigned to brief and discuss trade issues with Comrade Korea today. That passage indicates that essentially you were assigned to attend this meeting in place of Comrade Van Rith. Do you recall being assigned to attend meetings with foreign delegations? Is that an accurate summary of your assignment to that meeting?
Response. I cannot recall it clearly, but I do not deny that I was attending this meeting either. I am not sure because at that time probably Mr. Vandat was on mission and on Suan and I who were in the Ministry of Commerce, and then we met with the Secretary of the Korean counterpart. And as for the format of this report, I cannot recall whether or not this was instructed by us or somebody else.
Do you recall who it was that assigned you to attend this meeting in place of that?
Response, I cannot recall it. I would like to ask for leave from the chamber to go through this document, particularly the latter part of this document.
President, we have no objection if the witness wishes to see the rest of the document.
Response. After going through this document, the Korean counterparts suggested that they wanted to purchase some goods from Cambodia. But I think in that meeting, somebody else was the chairperson. If I was the chair of that meeting, then my writing style would be different from this. But there must have been somebody else above me in that meeting. And to be honest, by looking at this paper briefly, I cannot comment in detail because this event took place a long time ago. And I do not want to assume or speculate on this matter or that matter by reading it briefly like this. But the writing style and the format itself did not belong to my format. So somebody else must have written it. The President, the prosecutor may continue the line of questioning.
You say that it appears someone else chaired the meeting. Do you agree with me that you're listed as the first most senior member of the Cambodian delegation there on the first page? Just yes or no?
Response. I am not sure because in this document it indicated that on the Cambodian side there were the Mut, Hon and Sun, and there was no indication as to who chaired the Cambodian side. And this report involves the purchase and selling of rubber, which was a different matter. And there were other matters that might have been dealt with by Pon and Sun. I think there might have been such meeting, but I am not sure if I was the chairman of the meeting at that time. The president intervenes. Prosecutor, you may continue your question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lamont, would you agree with me that your assignment to be at this meeting, apparently in a senior capacity, indicates that you had a position of considerable responsibility in relation to the Ministry of Commerce.
The President, the witness, please hold on. The National Defense Counsel for Pon, you may proceed. Counsel. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to object against this document on the basis that the question is repetitive. And the witness has already stated very clearly several times that he was of lower rank. The President, the objection by the Defense Counsel for Pon is sustained because the question is repetitive and witness need not answer the question.
Having looked at this document, Mr. Lamont, how would you describe your knowledge of the Ministry of Commerce work? Are you very knowledgeable about its work, or is otherwise true?
Response. Aside from what I have testified, the task under the supervision of the Commerce Committee was different from my designated task. When I look through this document, I was a bit curious of this document. I cannot say that it was not the one I was involved, but I am not just sure of it because the writing style and the format was not familiar to me. But I cannot be precise on this document because there was events of our dialogues with the Korean counterparts on purchasing and selling certain stuff. And at that time, of course, there were other comrades as well, and the two comrades mentioned in this document were from the Commerce Committee, but there was no designation as to who chaired the Cambodian delegation. And as for the authority to decide whether to sell or purchase any goods from the Korean counterpart was not mentioned in this document either. And in addition, there was no indication as to who prepared or authored this report.
Thank you, Mr. Lamota. Thank you, Mr. Lamota. I think your response is comprehensive. This meeting, of course, took place, as the document indicates, on the 5th of October 1970. And it's a matter of public record that on the 6th of January 1979, the democratically Kampuchea regime fell. Where did you go at that point? What did you do on the 6th or 7th of January? Did you stay in Phnom Penh or did you go to
Response. I remained in Phnom Penh until the last day of the regime, and when the democratic Cambodia failed, I took refuge along with others.
And after that, escape from Phnom Penh, did you continue to work with people who had been members of the democratic Kampuchea regime? And if you did you hold any position in particular?
Response. Mr. President, I think the democratic Cambodia regime ended on the 6th of January 1979, and I don't know if I should respond to the question concerning my involvement after that period. The President, witness needs not answer the question because the question is irrelevant.
Mr. President, the purpose, I note in respect of the decision, just to indicate the purpose of asking that question was to elicit other evidence on the witnesses' associations with senior people in democratic Kampuchea. Just before I end my examination, so that the record is not incomplete, I will not ask the witness about this. Document E3/1435, which is dated the 18th of December 1979, refers to the witness and the function he held. The relevant ERNs are in English S00017988, Khmer ERN 00595 and French ERN 00597 This is an official record of the democratic Kampuchea government, and it indicates that the witness held the position of Secretary of State for Supply and Transportation. Your Honours, I thank you for the time extended. We have no further questions for this witness. Mr. Sakura, thank you for coming here to answer these questions and assist the board in finding the truth. I have no further questions.
The President. The civil party lead co-lawyers and the delegated civil party lawyers, can you indicate as to how much time you will need to question the witness? Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. I think that the civil parties will be around 2 hours, which means that the afternoon suffice for President, thank you, lead co-lawyers, for the indication of time. And the time is now appropriate for lunch adjournment. The chamber will resume at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer is instructed to coordinate the place for the witness and his duty counsel to rest and bring them back to this courtroom by 1:30 this afternoon. Counsel, you may proceed.
Mr. President, my client Chia would like to attend the hearing this afternoon from his holding cell for usual reasons, and the waiver to submit to you straight away.
The President, having noted the request by Nguyen Chia, who is defense counsel, to waive his right to be present directly in this courtroom, but instead follow the proceeding from the holding cell through audio-visual means from the holding cell. And his defense counsel has indicated that the letter of favor is ready for submission to the chamber, so the request is granted. Mr. Nguyen Chia may follow the proceedings from a holding cell downstairs through audio-visual equipment for the remainder of the proceedings today. And he has expressly waived his right to be present directly in the courtroom. And the defense team for Nguyen Chia is required to submit to the chamber immediately the letter of waiver not to be present in this courtroom with the signature or thumbprint of the accused Nguyen Chia. An AV officer is instructed to link the audio-visual means to the holding cell downstairs for the remainder of the proceeding this afternoon. Security guards are instructed to bring Mr. Nguyen Chia and Kyo Sampon to the holding cell downstairs. This afternoon, Mr. Nguyen Chia will remain in the holding cell downstairs to follow the proceeding by remote means from his holding cell, and audio-visual equipment will be ready for him to follow the proceeding as such. And whereas Mr. Kyo Sampon is to be brought to this courtroom before 1:30, the court is now adjourned.